this is Vanessa Joy from Shutter Mag. Thank you so much for taking the time to read marketing ideas on how to get brides during this crucial engagement season time. I have with me here Jessica Lee from jessicaleemedia.com, and she is a graphic artist as well as a website designer. So I thought we could grab some tips on just little things maybe we can tweak on our website so that after we do all this work to get brides to our websites, that we're not doing anything maybe that deters them the second they get there. So I know one of the things is the first page, that, you know, your splash page or your home page, the first thing that the bride sees. Are there any things that we can avoid doing on that first page that might just make them immediately click off and go somewhere else?
Yeah, the first thing would be not to have any music or loading video. Most brides are browsing during work hours, so anything with like loud music or an instant play video is, you know, automatically, you know, will detect that, say that they're on the internet browsing.
Just because they're going to be at work and all of a sudden this music plays, it's like, oh my god, everyone knows I'm not working.
Yeah, and then they, you know, quit. You know, they quit right away, and then they probably will never go back to your site.
That's a good one. What are some things that we can have on our websites? Probably I'm thinking more navigation-wise. You know, you don't want your bride hunting for things on your website. You know, if they're trying to find, I don't know, examples of engagement photos you've done. You know, what are some ways that we can make our websites more fluid and easy to navigate?
Yeah, it's really important to have a navigation that's intuitive. You know, for instance, separating your primary nav and your secondary nav. And when I say that, it means like your primary nav would be like the About Me section, contact, portfolio, stuff like that. Your secondary nav would be your social media links like Facebook or Pinterest, stuff like that. You definitely want to have that separate and intuitive. A bride is going to come to your website and they're not going to necessarily know that journal means your blog. So you want to have a really good naming convention, and you really want to have it separated and intuitive so that they can follow along and find what they need.
Perfect. One of the things that I know a lot of people who are viewing this, if you're a wedding photographer, we know that we have to appeal towards the bride. However, a lot of photographers that are wedding photographers are men, and they don't want, you know, flowery, pretty websites, you know, little frou-frou and pink things. So what can male photographers do on their websites that can attract brides, but not necessarily give them an overall feminine, you know, appeal to their website?
Yeah, I think that depending on your ideal client, I don't think all brides like the frou-frou or like the vintage. You know, some brides are attracted to those stronger colors, that edgier look. And I think if that's the case for your brand and that speaks to your ideal client, I think go with it. The one thing that I would recommend is allowing your photography to stand on its own and be highlighted, because that's really what they need to see anyway. It's not really necessarily the colors that you pick. And if you're also, like, if you're really not sure, then just stick to like more of a minimal design, and it allows your photography to be highlighted. And in this way, you kind of have that happy marriage between the masculine and the feminine.
I like that. That's good. Minimalist, I feel, is always a nice approach. You can't go wrong with being minimalist. Last thing, I think one of the things that photographers struggle with on their websites is choosing the images for their portfolio. And I know I am at fault for this. I simply want to have, you know, 500 of my favorite images on my website, and that is counterproductive to, you know, to keeping the bride interested. So what are some ways that we can enhance our portfolio by minimizing the quantity that's on there? Maybe keeping with some sort of consistency with our brand and just making sure that our portfolio is showing our best work.
Yeah, I would suggest picking like 3 to 5 adjectives that describe your brand. So it could be like editorial, fun, fresh, stuff like that. And then allow those words to be spoken through your portfolio. You definitely want to be consistent with your shooting message and your post-processing. So your post-processing needs to support your brand. So like if you're vintage, then you need to have a vintage post-processing technique.
So it doesn't confuse the client, I guess.
Right.
You know, your vintage next to super edgy, it's like, what happened?
Your brand message overall needs to be consistent and speak the same. So your imagery needs to support your brand.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us and help us improve our websites. This is Vanessa with Shutter Mag, and thanks for reading.